be concerned when there is fighting between Israel and any of its neighbors because they can get out of control because they don't have the kind of strategic communication to be able to impose limits. We can hope that it won't go much farther. However, the Israelis, who has certain political motivations in this, as one of your earlier people said, want to do what they can to bloody the nose of Hamas before stopping. And Hamas, which is trying to demonstrate that it stands more for Palestinians than does its rival in Fatah on the West Bank with Mahmoud Abbas. So I expect until the two sides feel they've accomplished their political objectives, this is going to continue. And it can get out of control, and I'm afraid a lot more people are going to get killed. With the effort by the Israelis to enlarge settlements in a particular part of East Jerusalem, which is really an Arab part, the United States should have called that to account at that point to cut it out. We didn't. Then when the demonstrations started, the Israelis actually put people on what they call the Temple Mount, the Haram el-Sharif, and in ways that do have some precedent, but went way beyond anything that was legitimate. This then became a crisis between Israel and, frankly, the whole Muslim world. Hamas then decided it wanted to get into the act for its own reasons. That helped the Israelis because this is so tragic. We were able to shift the narrative away from what they had been doing and what Mr. Netanyahu had been doing to try to keep himself in power to a classic clash between Israel and the hated Hamas. And that's where we are today. The United States waited far too long to get involved. For two reasons. Three reasons. Mr. Biden wants to be a domestic president. Secondly, he did not want to get involved in the Arab-Israeli conflict because it was not going anywhere. And third, as far as the Middle East was concerned, Mr. Biden was most concerned with the semi-negotiations with Iran, and to be able to pursue those, he had to keep the Israel lobby, which really is very, very potent in this town, from parting company with him. And now he's got a problem where he's got to please the Israel lobby by giving tremendous support for Israel and playing down what the Israelis are doing. Delayed too long, and then were not adequate in what they were required to do traditionally as the superpower in the region. You never know what will happen in the future. Once Israel and Hamas get this violence behind them, it may well be that there'll be some intelligent people in Israel, particularly if Mr. Netanyahu does not return to power, and also within the Palestinian community, to say the West Bank, the Fatah leadership, enough is enough. And if some of the Arab countries, which have been playing up to Israel because they have a common objective against Iran, if they will realize that they really can't walk away from this, and if the United States will finally come back to understand that we cannot walk away from it, then it might be possible to get something started. I'm not hopeful. I personally believe the only possibility that could work is a two-state solution. One for Israel, one for Palestinians. Unfortunately, a lot of people out there, and particularly in this country, are moving beyond that because they know this is something Israel doesn't want. So really it comes down to, will the United States be willing to take this on and really take on the Israel lobby and finally do something that is in America's interest as well as just Israel's interest?